For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions about gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Call them anytime at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we are here once again to answer your questions, be it real estate, which James has Dream at Real Estate. And I will say that I am Stan DeFreitas, Mr. Greenthumb, and my son, who is my co-host.
And of course, I am James DeFreitas, and we are here for you each and every week. And I always like to take a moment to remind people that if you have a gardening question, you can go to AskMrGreenthumb.com. That's ASKMR Greenthumb.com. You can click on the Ask button, and you can actually submit your question that way. You can do it right from your phone. You can submit a picture if you will. And one of the things I recommend is, if you can, submit multiple pictures, and one up close, one far out, and maybe a mid-range picture. And that way, if you have a bug ID or if you have a question about your plant that you think needs some attention, we definitely believe that knowledge is power, and we definitely recommend people reach out to us through the AskMrGreenthumb.com website. That's a great way to do it. If you need more than that, and it's not just a general question, then, of course, we do provide consulting services. And so we will come out and we'll take a look at your property. Now, there usually is a fee if we're going to come out and take a look at things. But the cool thing is we won't just tell you what's wrong, is we'll generally give you a prescription for treatment.
Especially if it's trees.
And if it's a tree, we'll come out and tell you what needs to be done to the tree, and then we can provide that treatment for you, and then we can put that consult fee towards your treatment. So if you'd like to talk to Stan directly, now if you like to text, you can certainly text this number. It's 727-423-4794. That's 727-423-4794. You can text him or you can call him. He is ambidextrous as it relates to technology. He can do it every which way to make sure he's communicating on your plane, whatever that may be. So we certainly recommend that. In terms of real estate, you can certainly head over to my website, which is dreamatrealestate.co. Now, I know people go, well, .co? Yeah, that's a thing too. So .com is what most people are used to, but mine's .co. So that's dreamatrealestate.co. And you can learn a little bit more about what we do. And I've been helping people buy and sell stuff for over 20 years now. So if you have a question, or if you just have a thought, about a real estate question that you may have, you can certainly give me a call at 727-254-7127. And again, that applies as well in terms of providing. You can text me, you can email me, you can call. It's whatever your level of communication, what your comfort level is. And if I don't know, I will tell you that I don't know. A lot of people in both of these industries that we are in will kind of say something to try to alleviate the person's question, even if it's wrong. And I typically don't operate that way. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know, but I won't leave you in a lurch. I will ask somebody who has higher knowledge than me. In almost every area, there's always somebody that knows a little more about something than I do, because they've got more experience with that topic. So, if you're interested in buying commercial space, well, I can know a guy that I would probably contact for commercial stuff, because that's all he does. And I would seek their advice before proceeding to try to help you. And I think that's the smart way to go.
Sure. You need to know what you know. Speaking of that, we just looked at a case last week where the person had like 12 trees. Mm-hmm. They were told by 3 different people, some of them arborists, who said all these trees need to be trimmed, cut down. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm an arborist that never carries a chainsaw. I don't have an axe to grind or a chainsaw to sharpen.
Right.
I don't need to take your trees down. And I looked at the trees and I said, look, these trees are older. They're kind of like you and me. I was talking to these folks, and these folks are a little older than me. I said, are they in the back, third of their life? Probably. We are. Mm-hmm. I said, but that doesn't mean isn't a good life in these trees yet.
Sure, and the fact that they were as fit as both of this couple who'd been married for, I don't know, 61 years or 67 years or whatever it was, it's an enormous amount of time in my 44 years of life. So that's, again, relative to your own time on the planet. But I mean, here are the ladies in her, I would say, late 80s, and she's mowing her own grass, and it's multiple acres on her mower. And I kept thinking, man, gosh, most of the people I meet in their late 80s are not thinking about how they can take care of their multiple acre property. They're thinking about shuffleboard or something a little easier to do in life.
Well, he's a very smart character too. He was a prefabber of metals and stuff and aluminum, and he has a great Irish voice. In fact, they sent me a little album he had once. And on St. Paddy's Day, a number of years ago on a different station, I played some of his music on St. Paddy's Day.
Must have been good then.
Because it was good. Yeah. He is quite good. And well, maybe we'll get them on the air with us someday.
They're very interesting, a very interesting couple. I mean, and just hearing about their story, because they, one of the things, and I don't care what business you're in, if you take the time to talk to people and learn about their story, that's half of what you need to do business with, because it isn't just about, doing a treatment or doing this or whatever service you provide. It isn't just that. A lot of times people are in a stage in their life where they want a little bit of chit chat, and it's, it seems to me that that's half of the job, is making sure that you find out their story, taking the time to listen to it, and being grateful that they're willing to share. And in this particular case, they were telling a story to us about how they came to Florida, how they came to be here. And apparently, I guess in 1958, they sold some tires for $25 a tire, and that was enough money for them to make the trek down here from New York. And
kind of amazing.
Yeah, and and again, if you, it's kind of the old adage, if you hold on to something long enough, and again, I think they made a lot of good business decisions too by going into business and creating a successful business. So I certainly always recommend that. To me, this is a country of businesses, small businesses that, allow you the opportunity to take a bite of the American
apple.
The American dream.
Yep.
And so, they availed themselves to that. So now they've done very well in their lives, and they deserve everything that they've received. And that's the other thing too, is that, you're allowed to live well in this country. It's, you're allowed to live just, you don't have to be paycheck to paycheck. You can decide that you want to, go into business for yourself, and you can, try to go out there and capture your version of the American dream, whatever that may look like. And so, these people did that with great gusto. And one of the things I mentioned to them was, does it concern you? Because in my short 44 years on this planet, I notice a trend that's a little alarming, which is that I don't see the same work ethic being applied to the newer generations that were definitely on full display for people that came from that generation. You're talking about people in the 80s and today. This must look like a zombie apocalypse has occurred in comparison to what they grew up as being normal. And I know that kids today couldn't begin to fathom it, but maybe we should encourage kids today to put down the cell phones and have a no digital timeout. The digital aspects of our life are overwhelming. And I don't necessarily think that that's the best use of the human mind or the human experience.
Almost Orwellian.
Yeah.
Well, the other problem, too, is I see, you can say, well, there's socialism and communism, which a lot of people are aiming toward. I've never seen it work. I mean, as you like to tell the story down in Cuba, they sometimes say they pretend to pay us and we pretend to work.
Yeah. Actually, that's a picture of that I remember. It was on. And this is when I was in college. Professor, I think it was a history professor. Yeah, it was a history professor. And he had on his door, it was a huge poster. It was a 3x5 poster. And it was a picture of, it was in Cuba. And it was in black and white. And it was one guy with a shovel who wasn't doing anything, and three guys that were laying on the ground, and one guy that was asleep in the wheelbarrow. Okay. And the caption was, we have 100% employment in Cuba. They pretend to pay us, and we pretend to work. And so in telling that story, it kind of symbolizes, when socialism has gone bad. When you have 100% employment, there's something wrong with that picture in terms of a free market economy.
Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the people who really believe it, well, of course it does. And I'm thinking, show me where it works.
Right.
Well, no, I can't show you there. I can't show you there. I can't show you there. But we think it could work.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that when you belong to a country that we couldn't do better on certain aspects. I mean,
sure.
We were talking to another lovely lady just yesterday, who was involved in as administrator for jails for I think in Florida in certain counties. And anyway, one of the things that her and I that got into talking about that I think made a very strong a point is that we put very little resources into rehabilitation. We don't really think about that, and then we sit back and wonder why the person was let out on a short stint and then why they're back again. And again, it's back to doing the hard work. And again, this is a gardening real estate show, but we get into various topics. And one of these topics is, our prison system. Should we have for-profit prisons in America? I don't know. That's a question that I think we need to answer and something we should think about. And I do think we should talk about how many times people are going back to the prison system and why we're not figuring out, the mental aspect of it, because that's where the real work has to be done. We have to find out what's broken. And we have to care about what's broken, and then we have to teach that person a teachable skill so that they have a way to make money in society and participate in the system.
I agree. I think the idea of having some kind of game plan and maybe counselors to talk to people to try to move them in a right direction, and maybe even starting off young, when people are in their teens or maybe in their grammar school even, try to see kids that are in problem.
Absolutely. And with that noise, we're going to go pay some bills, but don't change the dial. We'll be back shortly, and we'll be talking about all things gardening related, real estate related, and then whatever gently pops up into our head.
Which could be just about a plethora of anything. So stay with us as the plant talk and everything else talk continues here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at StaffordTreeSVC.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're here to answer your questions. Got a question for you. Now, I talked with our Kelly Stafford, who's our, Stafford Tree Service. Mm-hmm. She had a problem where she picked some, her neighbor gave her a handful of mangoes and she carried them around. Now, what could be a problem there? Could you figure a problem?
Carry them around.
Carried them around in her arm, in her hands. She carried them to her house. What problem could occur?
Where did they start? The skin start to come off, or did it start to rot in her arms? Or?
No, it didn't rot. But you're right on part of the answer there. I just wanted to see, since I'm taking you with a mind full of mush and turning you into a horticulturist.
I would imagine that they don't ship well, and it's probably because they have a thin skin.
No? It's because they are second cousins of poison ivy.
Oh, so it was an irritant to the
irritant.
skin.
Now, she says she has eaten not poison ivy. She's eaten the
She's
mangoes.
eaten poison ivy?
No.
She's a billy goat then.
She's eaten the mangoes before, not a problem.
Right.
But the sap off of the...
is irritating
because it is close. Now, some people love mangoes and they eat them and they break out with a rash around their mouth. She doesn't have that problem. But she said she had this horrible rash on her arm and she looked at it and it's the same shape of the mango.
Oh, well, that explains it then. You found it.
So she remembered carrying them around, and they weren't quite ripe. They were unripe, and they were running some sap. And when you pick off fruit, that can happen. But people don't remember, because it's the second cousin of poison ivy, it has some, that's not poison ivy, but for some people, it's more of a problem. And that's just for you to remember when you're handling them. Now, it's funny. Once it's ripe, she can cut it open and eat it and not have a problem.
Right.
And you may too. But I'm saying that for people out there.
So it's the sap, not necessarily the fruit itself.
It's probably more the sap on the tree. But some people who are highly allergic can just eat the fruit.
So you got to watch that. So maybe if you haven't had that fruit before, try it in moderation first, see how it does. And then if you don't have a problem, then maybe you can indulge a bit more. Is that the advice?
I guess it would be. I mean, I've eaten tons of mangoes and they're delicious. They're sugary, they're sweet, they're full of vitamins.
Now, what's the fruit that people put bags over to try to prevent that wasp?
It's usually a papaya.
Papaya. So tell me a little bit more about why people are doing that.
It's because of a fruit fly. There's a fruit fly that comes along and sticks her ovipositor. It's called the Caribbean fruit fly. And it sticks its ovipositor. It's egg producer, the part of its thing. It puts the eggs directly into the fruit, and as they start to grow, if you eat a papaya, there's a good chance you may be getting a little extra protein.
Well, that's what they want. People want more protein, and bugs are the new way out of the climate crisis. Didn't
a lot
you
of people,
know?
I think it's funny. We're going to kill cows in the Netherlands, but we're going to encourage you to eat bugs.
Yeah, bugs is the new ticket, you know. Come over for the bug kebab.
Yeah, if you had my bug kebab, if you haven't had my special
tasty.
sauce, you mix it up with a little bit of ketchup and mustard.
It's tasty.
And it's just that barbecue you put with it.
Right.
Makes those crickets taste extra good, next to chocolate.
Hey,
maybe.
if I was hungry, I'm not saying I would totally negate that if I was really hungry.
Well, sure.
So.
And I think, there again, I've always thought you put enough good dark chocolate on anything, and you might go, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Well, if that's what it takes, though, maybe the starting dish needs a different choice. But anyway, switching over to real estate, and of course, I run a company called DreamItRealEstate.co. You can go to my website and check that out and learn more about it. And if you have any real estate questions, or if it's the right time in your life to either buy or sell something, you can certainly give me a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. Or you can text me if you're a texter, or you can email me if you're an emailer, or all three. If you really want to get my attention, that's probably the really great way to do it. But one of the things I was going to mention in terms of real estate is, especially in the condo space, okay, and there's a lot of condos out there right now where people are trying to sell them. And one of the things I'd like to mention to people is that space has become somewhat stagnant. And it's because the amount of condos that we have. So you're seeing people not really wanting to adjust their price very much in terms of sellers. And the other trend that we're seeing in terms of buyers is buyers are wanting to buy a place, but they're wanting it to be completely fixed. So there's no aptitude involved anymore in wanting to buy a fixer-upper. So if you have a condo and it needs a lot of work, unless it's unless it's priced right and it's repaired, it's going to be a lot tougher for you to sell. So I'm telling that basically to the sellers. And if you're in the real estate space, you already know that because you've got a friend or another family member or somebody that you know that's maybe struggling to try to get through a buyer to buy something in that space. So it's going to be a challenge as we go forward, and it's one of the reasons that you're seeing a lot of people avoid that space. They're trying to tell people, hey, look, condos are not the easiest thing to sell. Let me also mention something else. And actually, here's a question for you that I could ask you in the real estate space is what's the issue if I'm a prospective buyer and I find out that, that you're not selling me a general warranty deed. Instead, you're selling me a leaseholder. Or you're selling me somebody who actually holds the lease on the property. Now, that's still a sellable commodity.
Sure.
So
you just don't own the land.
Right.
You're basically renting the land that your condo is on.
Now, if I were interested in buying said property that's in a leaseholder status, would it be advantageous of me to try to seek out a mortgage? And if so, would there be some problems with me potentially seeking out said mortgage?
Probably can still get a mortgage as long as let's say it's a 99-year lease.
Or you hope there's still 99 years left.
Or how many years. You probably need to know that.
Right.
That's kind of a fact that you ought to know. But, somebody asked me the other day, well, could you sell, some land? Well, what about if the person was drunk or if the person was drugged? Could they make an informed decision?
Nope.
And the answer is no, of course not. Anytime there's a major decision made,
right,
you can't be impaired. Right. It's like the old days. Well, let's take them out. And the old politicians used to come have a beer, come drink, come do some drugs, and then make a decision.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it's a terrible way to go.
As Judge Judy likes to say, it has to be within the contract. And the same thing in making informed decisions, you have to know what's occurring.
Absolutely, you do. And that's the same thing with real estate is in anything, is that you have to be in the right frame of mind. You can't be under the influence of drugs or heavily medicated because that would, you're not being able to make a decision that is the best decision for you. And the other thing, too, is it shouldn't be a rush decision. It should be something that you get some time to contemplate so that you're not in a position where you feel forced to make a decision on the fly. What
if somebody said, you got 60 seconds, make a decision?
Well, you're going to be in trouble because that's not how it works. And there's a lot of good case law out there that says you can't do that. So with that noise, we're going to go pay some bills, and we'll be back, of course, to talk about gardening and real estate. So don't change that dial.
Stay with us as the Plant Talk and Real Estate Talk continues here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online, aflre.com. Broken air conditioner? Keep your home's AC running smoothly all year long with Easy Breezy AC. With thousands of active commercial and residential customers, Easy Breezy AC is Tampa Bay's most trusted HVAC company. Easy Breezy AC cares about those in need. Donate 2 cans of food and receive $20 off a $79 service call. Go to easybreezyac.com and use promo code Greenthumb for an additional $10 off your service call. Call 727-856-HVAC. Life's hard. Comfort's not. At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today. Did you know that Stan DeFreitas, Mr. Greenthumb, can come to your house and examine your plants, trees, and palms? His knowledge can help you become the envy of your neighborhood with lush, green, healthy trees that don't just live, but thrive. Palms and oak trees are part of what makes Florida a beautiful place to live. But they get diseases and are often cut down. We offer ways to save your trees. Call or text Stan today at 727-423-4794 or go online to askmrgreenthumb.com. That's ASKMR Greenthumb.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Green Thumb in Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Give them a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I will say one thing about gardening right now, and that is it's so hot that many of your plants will wilt sooner than they might. And you need to watch the water. I've got a little tensometer that if I get rain, it'll stop it. But it needs the summer rains we're getting. And I know my neighbor Carol was praying for rain the other day. And
She got it.
She got the rain. We got it. Thank Carol.
Your poor marigolds, though.
They're looking a little bit, well, I don't know.
They're a bit wilty.
A bit wilty. I should have probably added a little bit more organic matter to the soil when I put the seeds in.
Well,
I did.
and Colleen, your neighbor, I mean, that one really let you down.
She
I'm kidding. I'm kidding,
she
Colleen.
did a good job. It wasn't Colleen's fault.
No, I'm kidding.
And I appreciate them doing what they did because I didn't really give them any tutorial about that or the pool because she's such busy.
Running of your house.
No. So I appreciate people watching over me. I am blessed with the neighbors I have. John and Carol are great. And Mechie and Jesse are great. And so are Bruce and Colleen. So I am blessed with good neighbors in every direction.
You really are.
And I thank God every day that I've got such good neighbors that watch over us.
It really does make a community much better if everyone around you, but again, you guys are also very agreeable people, so that also makes a big difference too. I mean, now I live in a townhome community and we have everything under the sun. So we have lots of people in there that are great. I would say the vast majority are great. And then we have some people that are a little sketchy, and then I try to avoid those. But most of the people in my buildings are really nice people, and they'd bend over backwards to help me, and I would them. And I think that's something that you really want to make sure that you're always trying to be neighborly, to try to be helpful. And so especially in a townhome community, because one of the things I've noticed in my real estate business is that people will buy into buying a townhome or a condo, and then they'll say, I don't really like people. And I'm like, well, you just bought into a place where you're going to interact with lots and lots of people. You won't be able to go to the mailbox without saying Mrs. Smith or Brian or Kelly or, whoever it may be. You won't be able to go without interacting with people. And so why did we want to buy a space where we're really close to other people? And it's, because there's a density issue.
Sure.
So
you're going to see people.
You're going to see people. It's kind of like the story that you and I, when we were giving classes on real estate, we'd get a hand or two that people would say, well, I don't really like people. And it's like, well, this is a people business. So how are you going to overcome that problem?
I used to tell them, maybe you're in the wrong business.
Right.
Because we're in a people business, and most businesses
every business
are
is a
alike,
people
know
business.
and trust.
Yeah, and by the way, I think every business should be a people business. You should always be, and sometimes it's time consuming to sit there and talk to folks about whatever it is that's going on in their life. But if you're going to be in business, you have to be willing to hear what's going on and genuinely try to be supportive and take an interest in what they're saying. This idea of going through life, I mean, these are real people experiencing their life as they see it. And, you have no idea what you've walked into sometimes. Sometimes you're there and on a house call and we're looking at a tree and you just don't know that person is going through a really big life struggle. And, so you have to be very careful about that and try to always be supportive and, recommend positive energy in their direction because that's just the right way to be.
It is. Yeah. And I might say, our world, we talked earlier about people becoming more digital and more computerish. Two things I got back, and I'm not sure if it's because I've been out of country or not, but I found my Wendy's app doesn't seem to work right, and my Subway app doesn't seem to ever work right. When I asked the kid at Subway the other day, he goes, well, we don't know anything about the apps.
Right.
I said, well, that's kind of a shame, because if you're going to tell me I need to use an app and you don't know anything about the app,
yeah, I just have a physical card. My advice to anybody out there that's done on a point system just if they offer a physical card at your favorite place to eat, get the physical card for their club thing, whatever it is, for your promotional points or whatever. Just get the physical card because that seems to work out much better. What I've seen is a lot of people, companies, big companies out there have put out these apps for your phone and they don't work very well or they're confusing. And so I'm a little confused at the amount of money that these franchises make and how little money they must be putting into these apps. And then furthermore, not having commercials that roll out nationally that explain how to use new set technology that they expect you to use.
And maybe train the people at your stores how they work.
Right, and there's no excuse for it now because you literally could have a trainer based out of whatever it is, and you could have a trainer explaining it on a Zoom call for 15 minutes. And, but the problem that I think where you have it is that the individual stores are so busy trying to fulfill their daily tasks with the individual orders that come in that the idea of having a break period of time where everyone's paying attention might be difficult. But I think they need to make that effort, and I think you're right to point that out.
Put a kiosk in every place saying, hey, we've got a guy in Atlanta who will pick up the phone and tell you, oh, yeah, you're right. This Subway app and Wendy's app is crud. I'm sorry. We've shot the guys. We've shot the guys who designed it.
But we'll teach you how to use it from the kiosk.
But we think we can help rectify it.
Right.
And for your pleasure, you're hearing the gunshots of the guys who...
Have you ever seen a kiosk, though, put in place to help explain how something operates?
No.
I mean, for that matter, the big box stores that everybody goes to buy their plants, you should be going to your local nursery. I encourage that. But most people go to big box stores to buy their plants. Have you ever really encountered anybody in the gardening center that really seemed knowledgeable?
Normally not.
What if there was a kiosk in the garden area that was under, shade and protected that, put you on the phone with a horticulturist? Well, that's an idea.
That would be smart. I mean, because I've been in some of those stores and I almost hate to be in there because I'm going to challenge almost every answer.
The number one reason people probably don't want to use a kiosk is they really don't like the idea of there being a video call because they don't think they dress nicely enough, or they think people will make a judgment call about them. I've seen this with, where people are using the doctor services, where they and not to take away from Dr. Bill Handelman's services, because he comes up next. But the thing that I would say is that, there are services now where you can dial it up and you can have a teleconference with a doctor when you're feeling ill. But most people will not use the video portion, and I know this because
they don't look good.
Because I know this because my wife said this to me. I look like crap. I'm just gonna do the telephone thing. And I said, why do you care what you look like? You feel ill. You're never gonna see that guy again. Well, if I went to the doctor, I would shower and I'd put on some makeup. I'm like, really? You would do all of that for your doctor who also doesn't care what you look like?
Well, there is something to seeing a live doctor, in my opinion.
There is.
Personally, I'm the old school. I prefer.
But in the absence of it, in the absence of being able to do that, let's say it's a weekend and you can't get in to see your general practitioner and you don't feel like going into a walk-in clinic.
Right.
There probably is a gap that could be bridged there with that technology. So I'm not totally against it. The only issue is I'm not sure how to your point, how do you accurately diagnose somebody if they don't look at you?
I know that I have to see things.
You have to see things. We say that all the time with the Ask Mr. Greenthumb website.
If I can't see your tree, I can't diagnose your tree.
Right.
And you need to see it. And I will need to take some few minutes to see it. I can't it isn't a 30-second get in, get out. And I look at doctors there again. I want doctors to spend some time with me. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to be nice.
Nice?
I don't want people saying.
Nice too?
Nice too.
You're demanding.
You got to be friendly. And I've had some great doctors. My heart team over at TGH, wonderful people. I loved all my doctors at the TGH, at the transplant team. They were great. Dr. Kumar, all the group over there, they were just great.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
And
Dr. Catlap, who did the surgery, super people.
Right. And I would also mention, too, that some of your very, very best friends in this world are doctors. And, and the DeFreitas family as a whole has a great love and respect for all doctors out there.
Oh, my grandfather was a doctor. He was the first chief of staff at Mound Park, which became Bayfront, and Dr. Miller. And in fact, as I went to, when I was in Europe, when I was in London, I went to the church where the Millers had been confirmed at St. Paul's, which we started to mention earlier.
Yeah,
Beautiful
we did.
church, by the way.
We did.
Huge.
It's huge. And, and this is not a travel show by any means.
I didn't climb up like you did.
Yeah, but I will give you just a little primer, if you will, if you decide to visit St. Paul's Cathedral. There is a sign, and most people want to do this too, by the way, and I do recommend it if you are physically fit enough, okay? They have a huge dome at St. Paul's Cathedral, and one of the things that they have off to the right when you enter, depending on where you enter, is a place for a hallway where steps start going. And the steps are, of course, in a spiral fashion, as they would have to be. And these steps are going to take you all the way so you can overlook the dome from being at the very pinnacle of the dome looking down. And they have like this little glass window, and it's a little freaky because you can lean over the glass window and literally stand in front of it. And there's a lady that's up there who's cleaning it every couple of minutes because people are standing on it and looking down and, and sneezing and coughing and snorting and all that other great stuff that people do. And so she's cleaning it so that you can look through and see, the hundreds of feet below that
I didn't do that.
Right. Well, and again, back to the fitness
I sat
thing.
in a chair. Yes.
Back to the fitness aspect of it. If you were physically fit and able to do it, go for it. There were a lot of British school kids there that day.
There were.
And they were okay halfway through. And again, one of the things that my wife and I did, we sat in a bench. They had a bench up there halfway. And I saw several British school teachers who were making the climb for the very first time themselves. And I always said, well, you're halfway. And I got the dirtiest looks from all of them because they were already huffing and puffing and winded. So like I said, if you're a backpacker and you're a hiker, this is not going to be an issue for you. But if you don't typically do a lot of exercise and you decide you want to visit the wonderful St. Paul's Cathedral there in London, which we highly recommend you do, be prepared that if you decide you want to go see the dome, that it's very taxing on, doing that physically. And then the other aspect too is you can go up to the second tier part of the dome too, which is more steps up again. And it's a little claustrophobic. So if you have problems with tight spaces, now there was no signs letting us know that there would be some very tight spaces to get up there. And then the other thing is I'm also afraid of heights. So when we got up to the very, very top there, you got a little tiny guardrail thing. And then, hundreds of feet below is a sheer drop. So there you go. Now you have a little insight into St. Paul's Cathedral. And with that, I'll let you take it away.
And we're going to tell everybody to enjoy gardening, enjoy your life. I'm not sure. I think we're at the end of the fourth segment.
I think we're third segment.
Is this third segment? Fourth. Let us know. Yeah. Third segment. Okay, so we're going to stay with us as the Plant Talk continues.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com. At Dream It Real Estate, we're a different kind of real estate company. We embolden our clients to dream their biggest dreams and partner with us to make those dreams come true. Our emphasis is on team building with clients who become friends for a lifetime. For more information, please go to dreamitrealestate.co or call or text James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127. Dream It Real Estate is always encouraging our clients to dream big with us today.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Give him a call at 727-254-7127. That's 727-254-7127. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I was just looking at a Song of India, which I guess is a Dracaena type, and we see it sometimes used in the landscape. I can tell you the only problem I have when you have these type things, if you get a hard freeze, and I know it's hard to even think of freeze when we're burning up outside, but when you do, years ago they were talking about climate change. Remember when they talked about global cooling?
Mm-hmm. They did mention that at one point, yeah.
Now we don't talk about that so much. Now we get it both ways. We can say global cooling or global warming.
Depending on whatever happens.
And whichever way we win.
You win. Yeah, it's great for their argument. But you were talking about the Dracaena there. If people decide that they actually want to own a Dracaena, of course, you can go see our friends over at Plants. That's plantz.com. That's plantz.com. And you can tell Steve Stanford that James and Stan DeFreitas sent you as you buy that beautiful plant that can be packaged up and sent to your mom, even in Ohio or anywhere in the United States, as long as it's not too cold outside, which it isn't for most people right now.
Yeah, I was going to mention to our buddies, too, with Easy Breezy AC. I want to know, in England, they had a boiler that ran both the hot water and the air conditioning.
It'd be interesting to know how that could
works.
work. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I don't, to me, it's almost like two opposites, unless you're running your own power source.
I don't know how that
seems
works.
hard to believe that you'd be creating your own power.
But I do know, like in New York City in particular, which is an analog for London, although in my opinion, New York City is, how do I word it in comparison to London? London is so spread out, okay? So London's a very spread out kind of place. They don't have ginormous buildings in London, not like in New York City.
Right.
New York City is when you're flying into LaGuardia or JFK, you will see these massive structures that are super impressive. And London is, they have some tall buildings. They've got the Shard and they've got the Gherkin, and they've got some of those buildings there, but they're not nearly as densely compacted into a small, tiny space as we think of in Manhattan. So it's not that London's not impressive. It's just that it's a lot more spread out. It's kind of like the Jacksonville of big cities. It's just a continuous burgeoning.
Kind of reminds me of Dallas-Fort Worth. Where does Dallas end and Fort Worth begin?
Yeah, well, and that's a good point. It just kind of continue, and that's kind of the way you can think of London as well, is it just continues to keep on going until it's no longer that anymore. And that's an interesting thoughts. And but one of the things we should mention too is as we're getting into the full heat of summer, what should people be thinking about in terms of planting plants?
Well, you can still plant things. It just means you have to watch the water. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to make sure new plants, especially until the roots are established, that they're getting water on a regular basis. And the problem with rain here is sometimes we get it. Sometimes it seems to travel over, miss your community, and hit the community next to you.
Right.
You can see it out there. You can see the sheaths of water, the demarcation of where the rain is, but sometimes it doesn't get to you. And sometimes I think it rains primarily in my area and not in yours, or sometimes in your area and not in mine.
True.
And the problem with vegetables in particular, now I noticed in England, they're growing all kinds of stuff. One of the things I did notice in England is almost every square inch and foot in some backyards are planted.
Covered.
You got a little bricky pathway through it, but they want to use every inch of ground.
Yeah.
Here, we don't typically do that. We have the South 40. Maybe we put some gardens into earth boxes, or we put them into some grow boxes, which you can build yourself.
Right.
Or I've used all kind of boxes and had good success.
Yeah, and I hate to overgeneralize, because we do have some serious gardeners and we have some serious gardening groups, okay? But in general, we're watching that show because sometimes it rains in London. You may have heard of that, or it's a cloudy day and you just didn't feel like getting out. But I was watching a real estate show that they have over there, and they were always talking about how we need to take that section out of the house so that we can make a proper garden.
Sure.
And you don't hear people talking today about removing a shed or removing a part of the building because it doesn't have a proper garden. And over there, it is a requirement almost that you maintain a gardening space of some type because it's so embedded into their culture. And to be honest, I really think that should be something we should encourage here, is that, and again, not just adults, but children too, because it starts then. Getting kids to make sure that we excite them about the prospects of living things and, plants and trees and everything that goes along with it. Is to encourage them for the love of gardening, And I don't think most of our clients are kind of middle aged or on the older side, in terms of your business with regards to gardening consultations, and I think that could change if we get other people to start younger and thinking about the excitement of or the beauty of growing things, especially food. I mean, growing your own food, you can regulate how much pesticide you use if you use any at all. You can grow in containers. That way you can control the soil quality that you're using, and you can also make sure you're not going to get into certain kinds of issues that bad soil tends to create. Florida soil, as Stan likes to point out, has got 1% of organic matter. That's not a lot. Yeah, some of that organic matter going.
Some peat moss, maybe. I'm a big fan. Michigan peat, Florida peat, Canadian peat. Those organic sources will help to improve your soil. I'm also a big one for recycling. I take every banana peel and cut it up. Coffee grounds, I recycle them. Egg peelings or shells. All of those should be recycled probably into your backyard, either compost or directly into the ground.
Right.
Your tree will love it. My avocado is doing great because I recycle. I do think I've got a critter out there that's eating some of my avocados, which I
would say
don't like.
so. I would say so.
So I need to,
especially if if you're not always real good with putting the bag into the garbage bin.
Well, I do, but other folks maybe are not.
Yeah.
I had the other day, I had some tomatoes. I had some lettuce from my backyard that was still fine. It was some of the red and some of the green leaf lettuce. I had some basil that I put into the salad, and I had some rosemary.
Nice.
And I made a little salad, enough to be part of my dinner.
Nice.
Out of the backyard, and I was happy because I thought with the tomatoes, it kind of dried out a little bit while I was gone. They didn't get quite as much water as they might have.
Right.
But I've got some avocado, which I'm going to have later when I get home.
Yum.
I had some carambola the other day. It's starting to put on some fruit. Has some fruit already.
Great.
And the bananas look like they might get ready to put on another banana stalk.
Nice. Now you're growing the Rajipura bananas?
I do. It's an Indian variety, and it's real sweet. I don't know if I need all that sugar, but since I need to sweeten myself up.
Well, again, I think sugar found in fruits, it's pretty well bound up into the fiber, so I think you're going to be okay there.
It helps. Yeah, it's not as bad because you're eating a lot of it. When you start to juice stuff, now juicing can be good, but when you juice stuff, you lose a lot of that fiber, and fiber is important to you. So I thought it's funny. I gave one of my avocados last year to Harry, one of my customers, and he ate the whole thing. I said, "Look, this skin is so thin, you could eat the whole skin." And I have before on occasion.
And I think he had to fight his grandson over it.
He did, and he won.
Yeah, the grandson won.
Well, I think Harry did.
Oh, did he? Okay.
It was 2 out of 3 fall match.
Yeah.
Kind of like Elon.
Yeah, we've actually had Harry Lipstein on the show before, and we've talked to him. He's a very successful businessman, entrepreneur, and architect. And
he said his favorite radio show ever is ours.
And he does.
I said, "No, really, Harry?" And he said, "Yes, over all the entertainment he can listen to."
Well, and he likes it a lot too because he listens to it via podcast, and you can do the same. Matter of fact, just for fun, any of you Amazon people out there, I just Googled or put into the Amazon search Stan DeFreitas or James DeFreitas, and our podcast will show up, and so that's kind of something that's kind of neat. You'll see that it comes up under Audible, and so there's lots of ways to get our content when it's convenient to you. And so if you're driving around and you have your cell phone up and you want to listen to some gardening and a little bit of real estate, then we are your perfect show for you, and you can consume it when it's convenient for your time.
I mentioned, I think was it Whitehall Garden? We met a gentleman there who was he was an older gentleman. He was in a wheelchair.
Nice guy.
But a super nice, and what a brain. The guys, I'm sure he's had some problems, but he was really sharp, wasn't he?
He was super sharp guy, and we've got a new pen pal from London, and we couldn't be more grateful for that. So that's always a wonderful thing. And with that music, that's the pretty much the end of our hour here on the show. And of course, we always want to encourage you to stay tuned for the Dr. Bill Handelman Show, the great Dr. Bill Handelman Show, and he's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, a historian and a great doctor to boot. Until next week, look at your trees, look at your plants. I bet you got some problems. And as Teddy used to say, go out and live it up.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.